So today, guys, this is going to be a very helpful overview of, if you've got one of these, what these numbers mean in very basic terms, and what's good and what isn't, and how it can help you know before you get into the stages later on of starting to want to regulate your watches, what these actually mean and what you can do about it. So if your rate's running really well, you don't have to do anything really, just leave it. But if it's not, what to do? Or is your amplitude healthy? Is there much of a beat error? What's an actual amount that is worth worrying about? I'll tell you that in today's video, and how to set your parameters. What is a parameter? Again, you're going to find that out now. So let's get stuck into that straight away. The watch in question today for today's setup is a Hamilton Intramatic with an ETA 2892 movement. And the way you can find that out is either just look up the stats and specs of your watch. I've got mine printed on the back here, it's just etched in there. So it's a 2892-2. So I googled that and it said 51 degrees is the lift angle. The first thing I normally do is, other than putting the watch in the device there, I always start with dial up, is I go into parameters, I press menu, I go down to the lift angle here by pressing menu again, and you press up and down to change it. So I've got it at 51. Test period, I leave it at 12, that's a good period of time to let it run through. And the beat rate is automatic, so you don't have to do anything after that other than just press start. And if you don't like it ticking and beeping at you like that, you can mute it. So while I'm talking to you, I'm going to leave it on mute. So I've left it in there. You leave it to settle a bit. You get your first set of readings. Write those down, and then you can move on to the next position. It's good to do this when the movement is fully wound, so you get a good accurate reading, because sometimes it can deviate a lot. If the movement's almost run out of energy, it can really mess up your readings. So it's good to have it wound up. The amplitude's 312. Again, it's good to look up what is a healthy amplitude for your movement. It's good in general to have it as close to or a bit over 300 for most movements. But I've had a lot of NH35 Seiko movements that are lolloping along an amplitude between 230 and 250. Sometimes higher, but you do get a gauge from using this kind of gadget a lot, with lots of different versions of the same movement, what is a good overall average figure. The beat error, ideally it should be 0.0, 0 is the ideal, but anything up to 0.5 and under is acceptable. But anything over that, you've got a slightly unhealthy movement. But I personally don't know at the moment how to fix that. So if anyone does, pop it in the comments. But generally, the thing that I like to tweak, which will be in another video in the future, is how to affect the day rate. So as you can see, dial up position is really healthy. It's running good. The reason why you do it in lots of other different positions, 4 is what I'm going to do today, is because you don't walk around with your wrist flat like the watch is now all day, do you? You move your arm around. So it's good to have an overall average. So let's move to the next one. So you just literally rotate it down. That's going to be the crown up position. Again, you're going to let it run through a cycle and you get to see how things change. So what's dropped or gone up or anything like that. So has the amplitude changed? We'll soon see. Yeah, the amplitude's dropped a little bit because obviously there's a bit more stress on the movement. So the amplitude in which things are spinning and moving in there has dropped a bit. Effectively, the stronger it's moving, the higher the amplitude, the better. And that's why it's important to get your parameter of the lift angle right, because effectively it's something swinging in there, left and right. If the amplitude's low, that means it's struggling a bit. And that can indicate it needs a service because things are struggling, there's a bit of friction in there, and it can drop the amplitude down because things are struggling. And what does that mean? Well, it just means your watch could be under strain and it needs a bit of proper service. Beat errors change a little bit. I think that's because the movement's under a little bit more strain because of the crown up position. Some movements have different sensitivities. That's another thing you'll notice from playing with these gadgets all the time. But the day rate is only dropped to -3, which is still fantastic. Now we're going to move to dial down position. Let's see how things change. So the amplitude, what does that do? Does it go up or down? We'll soon find out. So amplitude's barely changed. Beat errors changed ever so slightly. It's 0.3, 0.2. Again, it's not under too much more strain with the dial down position. And the day rate showed it slowed down even more, but only still maximum -6, -7. But build that into your overall average. We've had 0, -2, -3-ish, and now -6. Average it out is still going to be very good. And let's move to the last position, which is number 4, which is crown up. Let's see how the figures change there. Back to some really good healthy figures again. 0 rate change, healthy amplitude over 300, beat errors back to 0, So it just shows where there's a bit more strain on the movement in some of the other positions. So if you average that out, so it's jumped up to just +2. If you average that out, we're running a movement that's almost perfect, because obviously you've got a rate change range from +2, as you can see there, down to -6, -7. If you average that out to the median amount, that's almost 0. So probably -1 we're looking at. That's a good way of indicating if you set a watch up really well. Now, I hope that has helped you. That's just a very vague overall description of the basic details you need to know about what these numbers mean, how to set them up, and why it's important to get your parameters right, to give you some indicators. The other figures, and I've told you what the other figures actually mean and why they're important, and just what to look out for. Thanks for watching this quick how-to guide on a Timegrapher. I'll see you in another how-to video in the near future. Bye for now.